One of the best ways to look like a true professional is through branding. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use a free online program called Canva to design every type of graphic and image that you need for your blog. Just a few of the things that you can easily make are logos, featured images, sidebar graphics, blog headers, pin images for Pinterest, and everything you need for social media. Let's look at a few examples. Here's an example of a logo. This is one that I created for our blog in Canva. Keep an eye on these colors because you're going to start seeing them with some other branding that I show. In our case, we also chose to use an image that conveys what our blog is about, which is predominantly RV travel. Here's another example. All of these images right here to show the categories of this blog were made in Canva. And remember, in WordPress, most of the times you can use a sidebar widget to list your top post or your most recent posts. But this blogger went a step further and actually created these graphics in Canva to show what some of their top posts are and some of their top offerings. It just makes it a little more visually appealing. Also, Pinterest. All of these pin images were made in Canva. Also on our website, we made this little banner here that says, "Come out and meet us at an RV show." So these are just a few examples of things that you can make in Canva to help brand your blog and make it look professional. Now, before you get started branding, you need to make a few design decisions. First, you need to decide on a color palette. Choose 2 to 4 colors that you plan to represent your brand. At a minimum, you need a dominant color, the primary color associated with your brand, and a secondary color for fonts and backgrounds. And don't forget to record their hex codes so that you can be sure to use the same exact colors in everything you do. And I'll show you how to find those hex codes in Canva. Another critical design element is fonts. You'll want to use the same 2 to 3 fonts throughout your branding. Your choice of fonts depends on the tone and personality of your blog. What are you trying to convey to your readers? When they see your site, what words or images do you want them to immediately think of? Now, you can use Canva to design a logo with your chosen fonts and colors. This logo should represent your blog and brand to the world. And you can also use it to create a header for your blog. It'll be the first thing a visitor sees when landing on your site. Keep it simple and make sure it lets your readers know enough that they can quickly decide if they want to stick around and learn more. A couple of things that should be included in your header are your logo or a representative image and the name of your brand. Also, a tagline that tells a visitor what your brand is about and how it will help them. Finally, be consistent across all platforms. That means using that same style of branding, the fonts, the color, and the logo. And this is across all your online presence, including your blog, social media, and even your email newsletters. All right, let's go to Canva, canva.com, and create a free account. Now, there is a pro account that you pay for. And as we go through the free account, I'll kind of point out some of the features that you get if you do the paid account. You can sign up with email, Google, or Facebook. Okay, once you've created your free account, you just pick one of these categories. It doesn't really matter which one because you can pick any type of template you want. Now it tells you that you can use Canva Pro for free for 30 days if you want. I'm not going to do it right now just because you will have to enter your credit card information and they'll remind you 3 days before your trial ends so that you can cancel it if you want. As we go through this and I talk about some of the features of Canva Pro that I actually have with my Chicory's Travels account, you might decide that you want to use it and try out a trial. But for now, we're going to say maybe later. Another thing I want to point out is I'm on a couple teams with other bloggers on different projects that we have. For example, Blogging Camp, that's 4 different bloggers who bring you that program, Beat the Bloggers Blues. And so what we've done is one of us has an account and then we add collaborators so we can build graphics together for that. But right now we're going to skip that as well. Okay, here you are. Start your first design. One of the great things about Canva is they already have things sized for some of the more common things that you're going to create. So let's say logo. Now the great thing about this is once you pick a design, if you notice where the first thing on the top left here is templates. So it is going to walk us through some sample templates. So you could actually start with that. All you do is click on it and it fills up the block. So say you're a food blogger and this is the one you want to pick. Now, say you want to change this color, because remember we wanted to come up with 2 to 4 different colors. The primary color being your background. Now, right now it looks like, oh gosh, that's not very many colors to choose from. Well, what you do is you go up to this plus sign and it shows you a lot more colors on the spectrum. You could even pick a color and then hit the plus sign and it shows you ones that are more closely related to that color. And you could click around in here trying to find which one suits you best. Now remember that code I was telling you about. If this is the one you choose, you want to make sure to take note of this code. Now we want to change the color of this, the yellow. Again, you just click right here and say you're going to do something really simple and just make it white. Again, you could pick a different color. Maybe you like silver. Maybe you like purple and you go, oh, that's a little too dark. So you hit the plus here and you go down the end and pick a light purple. Or a yellow, a pale yellow instead of that bright yellow. And then you might decide, oops, we had to write down this. You want to write down what this code is. So if you forgot to write it down, all you do is hover your cursor over that and it's going to show you the code. So now say you want to change this to be the same color. You just come over here, text color, and it's right there in your memory. If it wasn't in your memory anymore because you had done something else recently, you would just go right up here and type in that code. And there it is. Now the great thing about that is once you type in a code like that, it gives you all these different palettes. And basically this is design advice, free design advice, and it's telling you that these colors suit each other well. Now you might want to change your font and actually even the words that you're using. You might even want to change the layout of this overall. So let's move this whole thing and make it larger. Let's move this. And then you see how you make it larger? You're just dragging on the corners. I mean, it's so easy. If you wanted to move both of these pieces at once, you could click and then drag to pick up both of those and then center them. And you see the grid lines that are coming up? Again, it makes it so easy. And then your blog might be the healthy plate. And say you want it all on one line, so you just drag the edges out. You can come up here and center it. It also lets you go right adjust or left adjust, but we'll center it. And say you want to change what font you use. Oh my gosh, look at how many fonts there are to choose from. You could spend all day just picking different fonts. So just for grins, we'll pick this one. Okay, and then say you want one more thing to go on here. Let's say we want to make this just a little bit bigger. And you want to change this font size. It's 38.6 right now. You could go 32. Okay. And then let's say you want to add, remember we were talking about picking fonts. You could add a subheading. And you could pick another font for that. And there it is. Now, you can keep playing around with it and change it however you like, but this is just one example of how you could create a logo. Now let me show you one more thing about creating a logo. Let's say you actually want it to be a clear background. So that means these items are going to have to be a different color. Now this is to tell you one more thing. Now if you want a clear background, this color is going to be too light. Now if you want a clear background in Canva, that is where you actually have to have a pro account. So what you would do is you would download it and you would say that you want it to be a PNG file and make it transparent. Again, like I said, you can try it for free for 30 days, or there are some other tools that you can use online that will give you a clear background. So that is one good reason to have a pro account. Another reason is once you do decide what you want for your logo and for your colors and for your fonts, instead of having to write them down and remember them all the time, you can actually create your own design kit and it's going to remember all that stuff. But right now we're just going to go ahead and save this as logo. So I just typed it right here. Your changes are supposed to automatically save, but if you want, oh, did you see it? Just did it before I even got over here. You can force a save here by going File, Save. Okay, let me show you just a couple more options before we close out and save this logo. Say you wanted to change and have a different element. You didn't like that spoon and fork. We started off over here with templates. Another option, I'm going to skip photos for just a minute. Another option is to go to elements, and you see these are all featured elements. You can scroll on down and see what different items they have, or you can search up here. So we could say fork. Here's the one we have right now, but here are some others. Now, say you think you might want this, but you're not 100% sure, so you don't want to delete it just in case. What you can do is go down right here and put add a new page. Now we have a completely new one, and let's say you want to try this one instead, but you put it in here and you see this thing that says remove watermark. Gee, what's that? Well, this is where Canva will charge you. You can have this image by purchasing it, or if you have Canva Pro, it's free in Canva Pro. Now I will say everything's not free in Canva Pro. There still are some that you pay for in Canva Pro. But if you really wanted this, and you could pay $1 for it, or you could start a free trial. Now another thing is you can come up here. See how these different colors are up here? So this yellow, say you don't like that yellow, you want to go to the other yellow that you had picked before, and then you wanted to make this the teal color that you picked before, and then say you wanted this red to go with something else. You could come up here. Now remember that code that we had earlier, and it came with these different palettes here. You can add this palette to your current page. Or you could try this one. So there's a lot of neat things that you can do in Canva. And then say you like that color palette, but you don't like the way that it chose the pink as the background. You could just get what this code is and then actually change it out manually however you wanted to. So there's a lot of different options. So elements is one thing that you can change. Another thing that you could do is change the background. So here our background is a solid color, but you could change the background. And some of these are images, and some of these are just patterned, like a patterned paper. So there are so many different things. I mean, you could spend all day doing this kind of stuff in Canva. It's really neat. And if you wanted to delete the whole page, you could just hit delete page. And now we're back to this. So we're going to stick with this for now. Let's download it. Now it says suggested for PNG, it almost always does. That's the highest quality image. For a logo, it's a good idea. It's not very large anyway, so it's not going to affect that image optimization we talked about earlier. If this was a featured image that we're going to show you in just a minute, we might save it as a JPEG. Unfortunately, we can't do transparent background because you need to have Pro for that. Okay. So now we're going to click back and go home, and I'm going to show you a few more things you can do. In the next lesson, I'm actually going to get into image optimization, so I'm not going to get into the images yet, but let's talk about a few more things that you can do. Just look down here under Create a Design. There's so many different things. Animated social media, there's regular social media, and then under those, this is more of an Instagram size. There's a Facebook cover and a Facebook post. There's a flyer, and we are going to talk about the flyer, using a flyer template when we talk about lead magnets, so that's another lesson. And you can just go through here and see how many different things there are. Pinterest, that's another lesson I'm going to do. A Twitter post. So there are just all kinds of things that you can design. But one more thing I'm going to show you is let's make a blog sidebar image like one of the examples I just showed you, and we'll use this 800 by 800 because it seems to be a good size for a blog sidebar. So the first thing you want to do is click on the free filter, and now we're up in templates. That's where it automatically defaults to. This is where the Canva Pro would be nice, because if you had Canva Pro, it would automatically have your style guide that it would save with your image colors that you picked, but we're just going to have to type it in, and this is why you had to remember them. So this was a yellow that we picked, and then you'll click up here to change the next color. You click on the color right there, and if you could make it the yellow again, or we could make it that blue color that we liked. You could change the, oh, and remember we wanted to go with our same fonts that we had selected. And this is a nice thing about this. You can, when you hit delete, you can delete just one element or the group. So if you wanted to take off just this word, you would hit delete and delete element. Now if you wanted to take off this top bar, you could make it match, and then it looks like it's all one. And then this way we could have 2 lines of text. And you see it's this easy to move. So you could put, let's say you had a really good recipe that you wanted to share, or maybe it's your top 5. Top 5, and then what you can do is drag that up a little bit, hit duplicate, here we go. All right, and then say we're going to pick top 5 healthy recipes. But you want it to be in your other font. So now this is why you need to remember the fonts that you're using. And so it was Homemade Apple. And there it is right there. We don't want it to be all caps. That's what this button right here does. There you go. Now we want it to be able to fit in here. So we're going to drag this box out. And then remember I showed you here how to change your font. It's on 60 now, so let's try 42. That's good. Now maybe you want just like a bar behind it. That's where you go to Elements, and you can pick a square. We'll drag it out to the ends, move it down to the top of that, and then to the bottom of that. And then you just change the color. And do you remember our yellow color? Now it's covering our words, so that's what this does, position, backwards. And then you can just move this down a little bit to get it exactly the way you want. You could, let's see, delete element. Now, so you want the image to be a little bit bigger. Now let's go over to Photos and let's find a food image. So one thing that you could do is pick an image that's on here that's marked free, and you just drag it right over. Now you're like, wait a minute, why is this color and this is black and white? It's called a filter. So you'll come up here and you'll see what filter they have. You change it to none, and there you have it. You could play around with all of these filters. It's kind of like Instagram, right? There's so many different filters to choose from. Say we like that one. So here you can upload an image either by clicking upload an image or dragging one from your desktop. So these are images that you took yourself or that you found on some of those stock websites that I told you about. Another great thing about Canva Pro, and the reason why I have it, is because I like to use folders. Instead of uploading there, I like to create folders for different categories of images so that they're easier for me to find later. Like I have one, since we're a travel blog, I have one for different states. I also have one that's just CT for Chicory's Travels, and so it's specifically photos of my husband and I. So to have those, you again have to have Canva Pro. Otherwise, you just use uploads and then you can drag and drop or click to upload. What we're going to go ahead and drag over here is that logo that we created earlier. So what you could also do is take another image that you have and upload it. So if you want to use your own image, you just bring it over, hover over the top of it, let go, and now your own image is in there. Now, one last thing I want to show you about text. Say you like this font, but you don't like how far apart the letters are. Spacing here, letter, you see they get further apart, they get closer together. You could do the same thing with this one. It works with any font. Further apart, closer together. Go ahead and play around with it and make a logo, make a header for your blog, make some sidebars. You could also use this same one for those category examples, whatever you think you want for your site. Go ahead and play around with it and make some. And then when you come back to Canva in the future, I'll show you what happens. You come to the home page, here's the way it looks, right? But now, all your designs, you actually have some designs here. Here was that logo that we created, and here was that other one. Couple other things here, the brand kit, this is what I was telling you about. You have to have the Pro account, but if you do, you can have your own logos here, your own fonts, and your own colors, even adding a whole palette. You can even upload your own font. So this allows you to stay in control, like it said, and keep your logos on hand, your fonts and your colors, so that when you're working, they're right there and you don't have to try to remember what those codes are. Another thing is this design school is really great. It has a lot of different courses to help you learn how to design things, to learn the basics of graphic design, to understand what type of different fonts go together, all of those. Go ahead and play around with it a little bit, and then in the next few lessons we're going to use Canva to optimize our images. We're going to use it to create an opt-in. We're going to use it to create Pinterest pins, all kinds of great things.